Now we will open for the panel discussion. So we have 5 panelists today. Panelists are expert in the sense they are involving in tourism promotion in Sri Lanka. And we will hear from them based on the 2 speakers as well, their presentation. And first of all, I would like to introduce our first panelist, Mr. Aman Farooq. He has vast experience in promoting tourism in Western, Middle East, and Asian Pacific markets, and his contribution to the tourism sectors is immense. And he is the managing director of Lanka Vacation and pioneer in promoting tourism worldwide. I would like to pose this question to Mr. Aman. What is the industry perspective of strategical change required for encouragement of recovery in the economy? And also, audience, if you have a question also, you can post it in the chat box. And Mr. Aman, hi there.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Good
Walaikum
evening.
salam.
Thank you very much for having me. And I'm also very humbled by the fellow panelists who are on this panel. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share my 2 cents worth as well. So actually, my father has been in the industry for more than 50 years, and I have been in the industry for like 7 years now. And since I have been looking at this industry after I came back from my studies, one thing I've really noticed is something that was echoed with the panelists today, and it's the matter of segmentation and really identifying who we are providing to. I think we have an amazing product, and I really feel that tourism, even though is 50 years old in Sri Lanka, is still in its infancy because we have really not explored everything we can offer. So a good starting point definitely would be identifying our who our market segments are. There are so many market segments that we can identify, and that's when we can really come up with a proper strategy on how to market tourism. Over the years, SLTDA has done a lot of work, very good work, I must say, Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau as well. But the thing is, it's all macro, one size fit all policies. That's not going to work. We need to identify exactly where the niches are and then pander to them, cater to them. That's how it should work. There are so many areas that we've not even thought about. I mean, we have started little by little for Sri Lanka tourism prior to the civil war ending in 2019. It has all been about Kandy, Sigiriya, Kandy, Nuwara, Bentota, Yala, Colombo. That's a typical itinerary, and that's on repeat if you check with every inbound travel agent in Sri Lanka. That has to change. That has to change completely. It has to be completely. Fellow speakers touched upon how we should give extra nights in locations. Very good. These are things we should really talk about. But how do we make that extra nights in locations? Then we have to create the interest around it, or see what we can build around it. So many areas that we have to look into: medical tourism, MICE, sports tourism, cricket tours, wellness and recreation, wildlife tourism, photography tourism, yoga, marine and aquatic, tourism other than Buddhism. Now we have been promoting the Buddhist pilgrimage aspect of tourism in Sri Lanka. What about the Christian heritage? What about the Islamic heritage? Why not halal tourism? So many things are there. Destination weddings, camping, charity related tourism. I myself, with our company, have handled tours where people, they just come and they want to help certain schools, and that's why their whole holiday is planned. So things like that. These things need to be really identified. First of all, what are these areas, and then how can we expand upon them? Things like infrastructure has been spoken about. I mean, honestly, I went to Thailand as a kid, and I went to Thailand as an adult. It's a shame where we are. Like, they have highways, their infrastructure just went through the roof, whereas we are still in a very primitive way, still relying on what the colonial British era left for us, fishing tourism. So many areas are there, to be considered. So the thing is, first of all, what has to happen is identification of these areas, and then the necessary data has to be collected, and then we have to analyze and market accordingly. The macro one size fits all policy will not work anymore in the digital age. That's my 2 cents worth. I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was excellent because you talk from your own experience that give more sense to the tourism, to develop tourism industry in Sri Lanka. And yes, of course, that marketing is the one of the important tools to promote tourism. So it's creating a positive country image is crucial for many reasons, as it influences the decision makers when choosing their travel destinations. So as as an expert in the market strategies, I would like to invite Mr. Sras Latif, to talk about how we can create a good image through marketing techniques to promote tourism. Over to you, Mr. Sras.
Thanks, Dr. Shamila. From my perspective, what Sri Lanka has to do is to come up with a unique selling proposition, because we seem to be having so much to offer. So we seem to be touting with everything from cultural to sun and sea to ecotourism to adventure to you name it, we have everything. It's like one of those product flyers, we have everything. But if you really look at most successful travel destinations, they have one single offering, so that it makes easier for potential client to keep in mind. So in my opinion, that is where we are lacking. Otherwise, there is no shortage of resources, no shortage of offerings. It is all about how you proposition it. So are we going to make it as a medical tourist destination, or an ecotourism destination, or cultural destination, or even maybe adventure tourism? So like that, there are many that we can think of. So others can tag along, but there should be one single unique proposition to say this is our USP as Sri Lanka. Like for example, Maldives has only the sun and the sea and the beaches. So they just market that, mind you, at very premium prices. So if they can do that with a basic product, I'm sure we can do the same thing or much better with so much that we have to offer. So that's where we need to come up with a collaborative strategy to create a more inclusive tourism, where people feel that they experience, they get engaged, and they feel part of it. So that is where we need to find that. So in my personal view, Sri Lanka is known for its culture, the cultural offerings that has. So that could be one, or even other niche areas like adventure, ecotourism, Ayurvedic tourism. Now, if you really club some of them together, it can also create a common proposition. So what it could be is dependent on how we come up with that strategy. So that is what is needed right now, a unique selling proposition to offer the world to say, look, when they say Sri Lanka, they should be able to relate what we are offering. So that is needed, and that is what is lacking right now. And if we can do that, it really creates a good impression on our potential market, because other speakers also alluded to the fact that what is important is the average spent number of days spent here in the country. All that is needed, because we seem to be getting carried away by the fact that this many headcount came into Sri Lanka. Why they came, how long they stayed, what motive they came, what motive they had, whether they are expats or returning migrants, we don't know. Whoever comes with a foreign passport is considered a tourist. And then based on the hotel occupancy, we think, okay, that is what they stayed, and that is where they stayed. But that's not only thing that we need to look at. We need to see how we can increase the average revenue that we get per person, per tourist coming in, and how we can extend their stays. Now, if you take places like Maldives, people book the resorts in numbers for weeks, months at very premium prices. And if you take a country like Singapore, I mean, they get tourists more than, I think, their own population. So with such a small country the size of Colombo city. So how they have done that is all about the proposition, to give something that people can relate to. So we have so much to offer, so many things to offer, rather than we, like the professor said, that we still have this conventional attitude of giving all what you want. And like what others also said, we try to have one size fits them all. Okay, you want Ayurvedic, we have, you have adventure, you can come here. It's like a private bus. So Sri Lanka is just like a private bus. Any bus that comes, you get on. So like that. So the traveler wants to go to a exotic tropical country, we are there. That's it. We don't have a perfect identity. So my take is that we need to create that unique identity and the unique proposition with a unique selling proposition. So that's my take. Thanks.
Thank you, Sras Latif. Of course, as a responsible citizen, all the citizens have responsibility to promote tourism in the country. So the promoting tourism for inclusive economic development is essential, we all understood. And also, as you explained, the country must focus on local initiative to promote tourism. So the Sri Lanka is a country with rich heritage and also known for popular local products such as handicraft. Therefore, small and medium-sized enterprises' contribution to the tourism is significant. So in this case, we can differentiate tourism-related SMEs and non-tourism-related SMEs. I would like to ask our chairperson, Dr. Ali Ahlam. He has vast experience in this particular sector. From your experience, how do you see the development of tourism-related SMEs and their contribution to the enhancement of tourism industry, and where Sri Lanka is standing now? Over to you, Dr. Ali.
Well, answering to the question, I would like to take a little bit touch upon on the certain information, how we derive into that point. On tourism accounts for us in our GDP nearly 5% on gross domestic product. When I mean, with the collection of UK, India, and China being the main markets for us. So we had our best performance was in 2018, whereas Sri Lanka was truly capitalizing on the dividends of a peace and the rapid development of the country. So I was part of the craft sector at the time as a Director General, Sri Lanka Handicraft Board, Laksala, where to go from 2016 to 2019. We had a wonderful time and we turned around to be profit. So with that understanding, however, after 2019, the vibrant industry of the tourism which was performing well in 2018, industry was hit soon after the East attack, and served as a first major setback, and just the industry was adjusting to the shock of that confidence and started to come out, coming in the world and grapple all the pandemic. That also brought us a global economies for us, all the sectors to a standstill. Now, we are in 2022 with the successful vaccination drive, and Sri Lanka's tourism sector was expected to bounce back and move forward in the positive growth. And after this whole trajectory, but the reality far from it, because we all know, we are experienced with hearing to the speakers and where do we stand, and the lack of so many resources and also the policy reforms and strategies, so much we are experiencing. So Sri Lanka facing the consequences of the political and also economic turmoil as a result of this decade of economic management that is catching up on us. There is no doubt in that. So even according to ADB, Asia Development Bank, they mentioned the more than 200,000 people have lost their livelihood of a job in this industry who are directly impacted onto the craft sector. So when it's come to the craft sector in Sri Lanka, we said that the tourists who are visiting here, they would like to admire, like a previous speaker, Mr. Shiraz Latif said, that the marketing point of view, we're getting everyone to promote our country in our culture is one of the main points. So in Sri Lankan's craftsmanship is inherited in the cultural diversity. So which is not widely shown, but then we have our one particular cultural diversity has been brought into the rich natural resources. Then also we come out with the giftware products just to attract to the foreigners with a quality conscious, of course, and the discerning bias. So giftware from Sri Lanka now is a combination of a traditional skills and the modern technology coming in. So the final product is touches upon from the craftsman's hand. So this sector has been there 2,500 years ago, passed by generation to generation to sustain the industry on the craft sector. And we have not come out to attract the modern tourism or into the digital tourism to market our product vibrantly. So the current state of this craft sector, it's adaptation of transformation from traditional design to contemporary model and designs. So the crafts are mainly at one end and handed over to tradition to other transformation modern designs also. The craftsmen are not trained or developed through the new designs, what suits in the modern world. So they have no idea what's happening in the Western, what is the people requirement, what could be the new generation. Now, for example, if you take 50 years ago, there was a customers who have been traveled to Sri Lanka, and now onwards, the complete different set of a generation who are arriving here. What could be their preference in terms of buying of products? If it's a cultural linking into a modern technology of, if, for example, if you say that there was a time people used to buy more gold, and now mostly people go for silver, for example. So how the silver jewelries can be linked to the craftsmanship and also to market our gems and etc. Even our Russian reed or bamboo products or even elephants and wooden care products. There's so much things we can get into the innovation. So the lack of a technology adaptation. So lack of unexplored market and the raw materials issue. So we have a significant impact on this sector. So the potential of the sector is not being leveraged, and the support from the government need to be more seriously looked at and train them, especially now see the material related batik dyes and the fabric, and all these things are has to come in a very modern thinking way to market it. So there is a demand for crafts. So if you take the Bangladesh and even in India, they are very serious in their craft sectors, and the way they promote the craft sector like a festival. In West Bengal, there are the cities and the villages, they call craft cities, and the craft villages, they attract the annual functions, annual events to attract these tourists. So Sri Lanka, we should think like that. Geographically, we need to promote the cultural and the religious diversity and coming in, and all these villages to be promoted as a craft. So this would bring us more generation of income and the employment creation and the foreign exchange earning, what we really want now. So saying that the crafts industry is very wide, and some of them are into full-time job, most of them are as a part-time job, as they see this particular industry is not growing further. So they do that as a second source of an income job. So recordedly from the EDB, what they are saying is nearly 15,000 craft artisans are craftsmen in Sri Lanka. They are working towards in this or direct or indirect employment basis. So they are also into a very low income generation. So their problem to be looked at, and the adapting and woman entrepreneurship and the female version of this craft sector and how we can integrate them, give them the opportunity to empower women into the craft sector and give them the opportunity to grow their business. That all we can think and work through the different systems. So the way forward, way forward, we need to integrate the value chain process of the industry. This to be strengthened, starting from identification from the customer requirement. That is very important. The customer requirement for the products. Do we have to utilities and utility values, and designing them accordingly should be given to the development of the industry. So these are the huge impacts of the customers. If you don't meet the customer's requirement, definitely there will be a problem in selling product that will impact the craftsman when it's come to the producing. So the craftsmen, they still think that whatever the product they make, in generally our craftsmen, they think whatever the product they make is a quality people should buy. So it's happening for, in a normal process. But when it's come to leveraging and unleashing the true potential, and we are not there because we are only following very traditional and old selling model. So we need to work towards a more pragmatic and more holistic way of thinking. This industry need to be promoted through an aggressive promotional mechanism. Without a proper promotional and communication plan, consumers will not be aware of this existence. So such products in the country, so with affordable pricing and locals us also, we should be able to become a customer for these craft products, and then we market also to the tourism and imports. So to do that, these all are connected with Sri Lanka Tourism Board, and also Sri Lanka Handicraft Board and the marketing bodies and the servicing, and all that to be collaboratively to look at as a holistic view of the country's resources to be marketed as a tourism, and to attract more people coming into Sri Lanka by looking at the qualitative and quantitative perspective. So that is my point of view. If I'm ready to answer if there is any more question based on this. Thank you, Dom.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. Really interesting to listening to you. Yes, you rightly pointed out we should promote our local product while integrating the value change while meeting customers' need. So of course, when you talk about the customers, again, we recognize the cultural and religious diversification. And we should also focus on modern marketing strategies, as you said, we will discuss. And we also invite questions or comments from our audience. Please be ready with the question and your comments, and we will take up during the question and answer session. And our next speaker, one of our youngest panel today, Talha Saif. He obtained his Bachelor of Honours First Class in the International Business Management from the University of West London. He also a treasurer Sligo Youth for 2022 to 2023. And during his tenure, he was part of the organizing committee of the first ever Sri Lankan Tourist Job Fair organized in partnership with Sri Lanka Alumni and the University of Colombo. He also specialized in handling the company's main tourist market operation, such as Spain, Japan, UK, and Middle East. He also represented Lanka Vacation and Sri Lanka Tourism for the Arabian Travel Market 2022 to promote Sri Lanka as a tourist destination to Middle East market. And we're very much happy to have you, Talha, as the youngest panelist today. And we want to hear from you what as the youth presentation of the tourism, Sligo youth planning to contribute towards this recovery process. Over to you, Talha.
Yes, thank you. Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to take this opportunity first to thank the RPSL Youth Empowerment Forum for giving me this opportunity to be able to share this screen with such illustrious personalities from the trade. Thank you again, Dr. Shamila, for the introduction and the question posed. On the basis of this question, I would like to cover this topic by basically providing an overview of how us as Sligo Youth, being the youth representation of Sri Lanka tourism, how we plan on contributing towards the economic recovery. So we have basically planned on a few objectives for this purpose. The first one being how we can upgrade the tourism infrastructure. Infrastructure-wise, definitely Sri Lanka is a popular tourist destination for its breathtaking scenery, World Heritage sites, and so much more. But leaving these physical aspects aside, we are also a people-centric industry where everything is about the people. And actually these very people are a reflection of what we take pride in as an industry, which is our hospitality. But in the current context, these very people are facing a problem where there are more than 2 million employees who are dependent on the tourism industry, and under this umbrella, more than 500,000 are direct employees, where actually the youth percentage is higher. So it's important for us as a movement to find the capable employees who will definitely contribute towards this infrastructure upgrade that we are talking of. And however, in this current context, we are also facing a big issue where the youth are actually youth is actually leaving the industry for good, since it's a volatile industry. But having said that, we as an industry are also known for our resilience, where we will be one of the first industries to bounce back during any crisis situation that the country faces. But since this youth is losing confidence, it's important for us to raise awareness on how they, as the youth of the nation, can be successful individuals through tourism. And it's important that we work on such projects which will re-inculcate this lost confidence among them. So as Slighter Youth, we are also currently planning on organizing such awareness programs to address this issue. Secondly, we are also talking about the digitalization aspect of tourism, which is very important to talk of at this juncture, and basically how we can revolutionize the tourism industry through digitalization. In terms of digitalization, most countries, they have explored far beyond what Sri Lanka has. I mean, Sri Lanka is in the backlash in terms of digitalization, but and this digitalization issue has changed, or rather revolutionized, the entire norm of the common traveler. So we think Sri Lanka in this aspect lagging behind, and it's very important at this time that we use these digitalization tools to recover tourism back to where it was. And in terms of, again, digitalization, since recent times, OTAs, which are online travel agents, they have been coming into the picture where they basically earn their revenue from outside the country. So by doing this, of course the hotel revenues are earned inside, but there is a problem that we face where foreign exchange is not completely secured into the country. So we, as an industry, the DMCs especially, they face a huge problem, and the employees also face a huge problem because they come out of this equation when this happens. So as Slighter Youth and as Slighter, it's our responsibility to safeguard these DMCs and their employees, since they are responsible for 70% of the tourist population that come into Sri Lanka, since they're channeled through them. So as an industry, in terms of this digital issue, we have failed to tap into this area, or like to avoid, or rather come up through this competition. It's very important that as a youth movement, we go that extra mile in marketing our products and focusing on basically the reliability and efficiency factors to the tourists, on why they choose the OTAs over DMCs. So hence, at this juncture, we need to come together as an industry, and we need to work closely with the IT professionals of Sri Lanka in initiating or developing systems which will keep us up to date in the technological aspect. And we are pretty sure that this will help Sri Lanka find its place and its position on the global tourism map. So this will also be another segment on like Slighter Youth, as we will affiliate with a few local companies on how we can address this issue as well. Lastly, which I feel is one of the most important factors, and as rightly spoken by the rest of the panelists, it's about exploring new avenues in tourism and basically making the best of what we have to offer. As a tourist hotspot, Sri Lanka, we have to always be ahead of our regional competitors like Maldives, Indonesia, or Malaysia. Since in the eyes of a global tourist, it's an alternative product. So this is not even a matter of coming up with something new. It's only a matter of identifying what we have basically. And like, for example, for a country like Dubai, with such limited natural resources, they still are finding their way in the global tourist market. And we as a country have our natural resources placed right in a golden platter, and it's just a matter of how we have to make the best out of it. For example, as this was covered previously, the beach in Pasikuda, which is well known for its white, pristine, sandy beaches. So it is somewhat similar to what Maldives offers, but we can still offer these at a lower price. So likewise, we at Slighterwood, we are actually trying to come up with a new idea, and we are initiating a project and in identifying these new potential hotspots in the country. Basically, what we are talking of is identifying 12 new potential hotspots, which we plan on promoting soon in the coming months. So each month will be allocated for a specific tourist hotspot. So by doing this project, we again contribute to our first objective that we spoke of, which is upgrading the infrastructure, where awareness will be conducted at all these locations where, even the youth or the village people, they get to introduce their products. And through this, we can later cater this to the tourists. So we believe these measures, as it will help us get through to our recovery as an industry, at least for the initial part. And to conclude, I think as the youth, we should and we will definitely come together at this juncture to recover from this period. And we firmly believe that as a start, if we can at least focus on these discussed objectives, we can definitely contribute towards rebuilding tourism and recover from this period that we are in by yet again proving how resilient we are as an industry. So as the youth body, we very much look forward to do much more in recovering tourism, and this is just an overview of what we plan to do as an immediate action plan. So I hope I covered most part of the question. Once again, thank you so much for having me here, and I would like to again thank the Youth Empowerment Forum for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Talha. It's really interesting. You talk about a lot of issues that, from the youth perspective, that's exploring new events, new sites, and improved infrastructure, empowering youth, as well as digitalization and so on. And you have a very good plan to enhance tourism industry. We wish you all the best to meet all your objectives. And yes, we are also, that is current economic crisis, one of the biggest setback in the tourism industries, and among others, the fuel crisis and the foreign exchange problems are burning issues at this moment. And also, as a citizen of this country, we should focus more on the solution than the problem. So I would like to call our next panelist, Dr. Jafari Doolabandan. Is a successful entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and also he has 10 years experience in the tours to Saudi Arabia for Hajj, handling over 450 Hajjajis yearly, former director Emerald Travel and Salam Travel in UK, expert in fuel trading and logistics for over 12 years. So I would like to put this question to Dr. Jafari, because you are in this field. So how, especially when it's come to the economic crisis in Sri Lanka, we face the fuel crisis and the foreign exchange are the biggest issue at this moment. So what are the available options to overcome these challenging issues at this moment? Over to you, Dr. Jafari.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, Dr. Sharmila, for the opportunity given with regards to shedding some light on how to move forward in this crisis. Now, technically, we are looking at a huge economic downturn, recession, not only in Sri Lanka but all over the world. And that's hitting home really hard with regards to our balance of trade, and also the forex issue that we have in Sri Lanka, tied with also the fuel issue, the lack of diesel and petrol with regards to logistics. So if you look at one of the main issues in the tourism trade that I see moving forward, even if the tourists start coming in, it's certain aspects of the economy are settled, and if the tourists come in, how are we going to transport them? Where is the logistics? So these are key problems that we have, that we need to find practical solutions. So looking at the stakeholders for this issue, we have to take the Ministry of Tourism, who have to bring in a proper legislation to ensure that they protect the tourism operators, large, medium, small boutiques, hoteliers, transportation. It's all in one ecosystem. We have to take one of the main stakeholders is the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, the Indian oil in Lanka oil, Indian oil company, private banks, and tourism related associations registered to SLTDA, the fuel station owners, CPC and IOC forecourt shed owners, the Sri Lanka police, Triforces, and the Sri Lankan citizens. These are the key stakeholders, in my view, within this tourism industry that have to come together to ensure that the tourism industry raises its head again, and we can bring in the 4.5 or $5 billion that the industry brought in 2018-2019, just before the bomb blast. So what I proposed, and I've also given this to the minister and also the Ministry of Tourism and SLTDA. We are in discussion how we can...
It exists today. It's fairly small, only about 5,000 people reside. And by all...
Sorry, someone was online there. So we have a few options, you know, with regards to this. We have to integrate the banks and the tourism industry, Sri Lanka Tourism Board, where the tourism board can help operators linked to the SLTDA. The operators not linked to the SLTDA can then come and get registered to SLTDA. That way, I think Mr. Tala Saif was speaking very rightly of this digitization. One of the biggest problems that Sri Lanka has currently is data. They have corrupted data sets. So with regards to how we can improve tourism in Sri Lanka, we need to have proper data. And that data now with QR code system coming into the petroleum industry, this is something that can be integrated through blockchain and other SAP systems that we can integrate into the tourism industry to have much more clarity in the data sets that we get in order to make informed decisions moving forward in the industry. Also, the Sri Lanka Tourism Board can work with the Sri Lanka Petroleum Corporation in bringing QR code system to the industry, where they can, through that system, give more fuel allocation to the big companies or to the operators for their transportation, for their logistics. We can also look at the banks in Sri Lanka issuing top-up cards for tourists. If when they come in, they can give out something like a barter card system or a Visa or MasterCard top-up system with the tourism ministry logo as a safety feature. Through that, maybe they can integrate the shed owners, the forecourts, to ensure that they get fuel provided through that. Then another option that we can do straight away is for the banks to provide POS systems, so point of sale systems for Forex. I know that they have POS systems for the Sri Lankan rupee LKR, but I think it's very simple for most of the forecourt shed owners to work with their providers, with their banks to ensure that they open a US dollar account and get that forex coming in through foreign debit cards, foreign credit cards. That way we can improve the forex system of our the problem that we have with the forex, and then we can use that on an escrow account to get petroleum products from the CPC. So CPC is also open to big companies like John Keel's, Hemas, Haley's, Browns coming in and creating a consortium so that we can import fuel with the dollars that they have, and maybe allocate certain aspects. So for example, if John Keel's brings in 10,000 metric tons of jet fuel or petrol, which is around 92 or 95, or gas oils, 500 ppm, which is the normal auto diesel, then they should be allocated through a QR code system or a blockchain system where they can have their allocation through X amount of petrol sheds per district. So you have 25 districts, maybe 10 petrol sheds integrate in the first phase, and then keep improving from 10 to 15 to 20, and that those petrol sheds can have a system where they will reduce the allocation of John Keel's or Hemas or Haley's or Browns, the big operators, or even the smaller operators that are linked to the SLTDA. So these are options that we can look into. With that, also consortiums go to a bank, a private bank, where they can issue a standard letter of credit with a guarantee from the Sri Lanka Tourism Board, because that and the central bank. So in a month or in 15 days or a month, that they will get their money back if it is bought in Sri Lankan rupees. So there are so many variables here that we can look at in regards to how we can bring forex through the tourism industry to help the tourism industry in with the fuel shortages that we have. We have not only the logistics and moving the tourists from A to B, but also with regards to, because we have power failures, with regards to generation of power through diesel generators. So these are all coming to the mix, different variables come in there. So it is to do with sitting down, brainstorming, understanding who the real stakeholders are, and working together to ensure that you know, we can move forward in these trying times. Sri Lanka and Sri Lankans are a resilient bunch, and you know, we never give up. So I think if we all come together, change the mindset of the people, because tourism is a foreign exchange earner that can bring in $5 to $6 billion, which can take away a lot of our problems. But it's to do with the mindset to be for everyone, even the citizens of Sri Lanka, to be educated in order to give safety to the tourists. Even if I look at some of the things that we can do through this police and the tri-forces, is to protect even the ecosystems. There are I hear, because we used to send around 3,000 to 4,000 tourists inbound to Sri Lanka yearly from London, when I used to be a director in one of the major travel agencies there. And some of the things that they come back, and the feedback is sometimes they don't feel safe because of the tuk-tuk drivers in the south. So there are lots of variables that we can look at, brush up, and move forward. And I think if we get this this whole sector together, and a proper strategy together with all the marketing, and also have a strategy
that do the best we can to make sure that our schools continue to be safe, I'm going to continue to work with law enforcement. I hope every parent, if you haven't hugged or kissed your kid in the last couple of days.
Sorry, someone.
Some interruption.
This link has been hacked, I think.
No, I think
It has been hacked.
So I think this is very important moving forward. And any questions that you have, I'm more than happy to answer with regards to the strategy in bringing in fuel and also implementation of logistics in the industry.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jafari. Thank you very much for that analysis, especially relating to technology, digitalization, and so on.